This is the story of Lucas, a street musician whose life takes an unexpected turn when a lost girl crosses his path on the most chaotic night of the year. Amid secrets, melodies, and puzzling encounters, Lucas will discover that his music holds a power he never imagined. Are you ready to listen? Under the flickering glow of a streetlight on the verge of going out, Lucas strums his guitar with fingers numbed by the cold. The music, soft and melancholic, floats through the air like a whisper, fading amidst the clamor of firecrackers and New Year's laughter. At his feet, only a couple of coins lie in the worn guitar case. In the distance, colorful lights illuminate a city celebrating with a fervor that feels foreign to him. A group of young people walks by without even glancing his way. One of them drops an empty cup, which rolls and clinks against the guitar case. Lucas doesn't pick it up. Instead, he tilts his head back, letting the freezing air chill his face while he continues playing, his gaze fixed on the sky where fireworks burst into colors he fails to admire. Suddenly, the sound of a child's laughter breaks the monotony. Lucas lowers his gaze and, amidst the bustling crowd, spots a little girl with tangled hair and tear-streaked cheeks. She stands before him, small and disoriented, clutching a grimy, stuffed toy tightly. Her eyes desperately search for something, or someone that she cannot find. Before Lucas can react, the girl stumbles over his guitar case and falls to her knees, scattering the coins he had painstakingly earned. A pang of frustration and something deeper, something unnamed, pierces him, and as the girl rubs her eyes, sobbing, Lucas realizes the music has stopped. His guitar is silent, just like him. The girl looks up, her large, tear-filled eyes shining even brighter under the yellowish light of the street lamp. Her breathing is ragged, and her trembling voice comes out in barely a whisper. "I can't find my mom," she says, clutching her now tattered stuffed toy even tighter. Lucas watches her silently for a moment, the echo of her words resonating in his mind. He doesn't know how to respond. What could he possibly do? Someone who doesn't even have a place to return to tonight. But then, something about the way she trembles, the despair hidden in her eyes, utterly disarms him. "What's your name?" he finally asks, his voice softer than he expected. "Sophia," she replies between sobs, wiping her nose with the sleeve of her dress. Lucas nods and leans down to gather the scattered coins, placing them back in the guitar case. As he does, his gaze falls on the girl's worn-out shoes, one of which is about to fall apart. She looks even smaller amidst the overwhelming chaos of lights and noise, as if the entire world were determined to ignore her. "Do you remember where you last saw her?" he asks, trying to mask how lost he feels himself. Sophia shakes her head, a fresh sob escaping her lips. Lucas exhales deeply. He scans the crowd, hoping to spot someone frantically searching for this child, but sees only indifferent faces. For a moment, he considers taking her hand and leading her to the nearest police station, but the thought feels cold and distant, devoid of warmth. Finally, he stands up. Brushing the dirt off his knees, he extends his hand to Sophia. Well, Sophia, let's go find your mom. The girl hesitates for a moment, then her small, cold hand clasps his. Lucas realizes he has neither a plan nor the slightest idea of where to begin, but one thing is certain, he will not leave her alone. Lucas crouches and opens his worn backpack, rummaging through the few items he carries. He pulls out a somewhat tattered but clean blanket and drapes it over Sophia's shoulders. She clings to the edge with her small hands, trembling less now, though her eyes continue to dart around nervously. "Don't worry," Lucas says, trying to sound reassuring. "We'll find your mom, I promise." At that moment, a familiar voice calls out from the distance. "Lucas, what are you doing out here in this cold?" It's Andres, a barista from the nearby cafe, holding a thermos. His apron is stained with coffee and milk, but his usual warm smile brings Lucas a sense of comfort he always appreciates on nights like this. "This little one is lost," Lucas replies, pointing at Sophia, who is half hidden behind him. "She says she can't find her mom. I don't even know where to start." Andres frowns and approaches, crouching to Sophia's level. "Hi, Sophia, I'm Andres. We'll help you, okay?" Sophia nods timidly, still clutching her stuffed toy. Andres stands and hands Lucas his phone. "Use this. Maybe we can call someone, the police or something." Lucas hesitates for a moment before taking the phone. He isn't used to asking for help, but this situation is overwhelming. Meanwhile, Andres glances around as if expecting someone to appear searching for the child. "Where did you last see your mom, little one?" Andres asks. "There were lots of lights," Sophia murmurs, her voice barely audible, "and loud music." Lucas exchanges a quick glance with Andres. On a night like this, lights and loud music describe almost the entire city. "It could be the main square," Andres suggests, "or maybe the night market. It's full of lights and stalls." Lucas nods. It's not much, but it's a starting point. He leans toward Sophia, trying to exude confidence. "Let's check out the place with the lights first, okay?" he says. She nods and Lucas feels a small spark of relief. Andres fills a thermal cup with something warm from his thermos and hands it to Lucas. "For the cold," he says, winking. "Good luck." Lucas briefly smiles, grateful. With the phone in his pocket and Sophia's hand tightly in his, he takes the first step toward the chaos of lights and noise. The search has begun. The city streets become a dazzling maze as Lucas and Sophia navigate through them. Fireworks explode in the sky, bathing everything in flashes of color. The sound of music, shouts, and laughter fills the air, drowning out even the simplest words. Lucas grips Sophia's hand tightly, making sure they don't get separated in the chaos. The girl looks around with a mix of awe and fear, occasionally stopping to point at something she thinks she recognizes: a fountain, a balloon stand, a popcorn cart, but each time, after a brief moment of hope, she shakes her head. "It's not here," she says, her voice breaking. At a corner, a group of street performers puts on a fire juggling show. The crowd stops, blocking the path. Lucas tries to push through, but the people barely budge. Sophia, seeing the flames, clutches her stuffed toy and Lucas's hand even tighter. "Isn't there another way?" she asks, her voice almost a whisper. Lucas stops and takes a deep breath. Everything in the city seems to conspire against them, making the search even harder. He looks at Sophia, her gaze fixed on the ground, and feels a pang of helplessness. The guitar slung across his back feels heavier than usual, as though questioning its purpose in this moment. Suddenly, an idea strikes him. He steps away from the crowd and stops in a quieter corner. Sophia watches him, puzzled. "I'm going to try something," he tells her, taking off his guitar. The girl doesn't reply, but she doesn't take her eyes off him. Lucas begins to play a soft, nostalgic melody, a song he learned years ago that has always brought him comfort. The first notes escape the strings, and gradually, the surrounding noise seems to fade. Some people turn their heads toward them, others stop out of curiosity. "Does this sound familiar to you?" Lucas asks as Sophia listens intently. She shakes her head but seems a little calmer. Lucas keeps playing, letting the music flow, hoping it might somehow draw the attention of someone who can help. At that moment, a tired yet kind-looking man approaches. "That melody," the man says, pointing at the guitar. "I heard it a while ago at the main square. There was a family there with a little girl. It might be her." Something ignites inside Lucas. He flashes a quick, grateful smile. "Thank you. Let's go, Sophia." He takes her hand again, feeling that even if it's just a small step, they now have a direction. As they head toward the main square, Lucas glances at Sophia. She doesn't say anything but walks a little taller, as though the music had given her strength. He can't help but think that his guitar, the instrument that had accompanied him through his loneliest moments, might now be the key to resolving this night of uncertainty. As they approach the main square, Lucas senses Sophia's nervousness returning, as she clutches the stuffed toy tightly against her chest, her gaze anxiously darting around the crowd. Lucas, trying to keep her calm, slings his guitar over his shoulder but doesn't put it away. Instead, he stops and sits on a low curb near a churro stand. "Let's rest for a moment." "Okay," he says to Sophia with a smile. She nods silently. Lucas tunes the guitar strings and begins to play. It's a soothing melody, with a rhythm reminiscent of a lullaby. His aim isn't just to calm Sophia, but also to draw the attention of passers-by. If the girl has been in this area, someone might recognize her. Suddenly, Sophia starts humming a tune that complements his song. It's soft, almost imperceptible, but Lucas hears it and adjusts his rhythm to match hers. "That song? Where did you hear it?" Lucas asks. "My mom sings it sometimes," Sophia replies in a quiet voice. People begin to stop, drawn by the music and the unexpected contribution of the child. Among the curious onlookers, a woman with curly hair furrows her brow and leans toward Sophia. "That melody, I heard it recently. There was a family near the fair at the amusement park. I think they were looking for someone." Lucas feels his heart leap. "Are you sure it was today? And where is the park?" he asks hastily. "Yes, about half an hour ago," the woman replies. "It's a few blocks from here, at the end of the main avenue." Lucas quickly thanks her and gets to his feet. Taking Sophia's hand, he starts walking faster, guiding her toward the direction they were given. "We're close, Sophia. I'm sure we'll find them there," he says, hoping his words will reassure her. But when they arrive at the amusement park, the scene is desolate. The stalls are closed, the carousels empty, and the decorative lights flicker with a dim, lifeless glow. The joy of the place has vanished, replaced by a cold silence that chills to the bone. Sophia looks around, her breathing growing faster. "Where's my mom?" she asks in a trembling voice, her eyes filling with tears. Lucas feels his chest tighten. He scans the area, desperately searching for any clue that might indicate they were there. But the park seems abandoned. The sound of the wind rustling the chains of the swings is the only response. He kneels beside Sophia, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry, we won't give up. We'll keep looking," he says, offering her a smile, even though the uncertainty eats away at him inside. Sophia nods, though her face remains sad. Lucas looks around the empty park once more before standing. He knows they'll have to move on, but the feeling that time is slipping away begins to grow inside him like a shadow. Lucas sits on a bench facing the empty park, letting his guitar drop beside him with a deep sigh. The flickering lights of the place seem to mock his efforts, and the cold of the night begins to seep into his bones. He runs a hand through his hair, looking at Sophia, who stands near a motionless swing, clutching her stuffed toy tightly. "They're not here, Sophia," he finally says, his voice barely a whisper. He hadn't meant to say it, but the words escape before he can stop them. "Maybe we should go to the police station. Let them help you. No," the girl replies, turning to him with eyes shining with determination. Her voice, though trembling, leaves no room for doubt. "They're close. I know it." Lucas opens his mouth to argue, but something in Sophia's conviction stops him. He looks at her, so small yet so sure. A spark ignites within him, though he doesn't know where it comes from. He sighs and picks up his guitar again. "All right, one last time. Let's try." Sophia watches him with a mix of hope and curiosity as Lucas adjusts the strings. His mind drifts back in time, searching for something special, something that might break the invisible barrier separating Sophia from her family. Finally, his fingers find the notes of a song his mother used to sing every New Year's when he was a child. The first notes resonate in the cold air, soft but full of warmth. It's a familiar melody, laden with nostalgia, and Lucas closes his eyes as he plays, letting the memories guide his hands. Slowly, the song begins to fill the empty space. The park's flickering lights seem to dance to the rhythm of the music, and beside him, Sophia starts to hum. The sound draws a group of passers-by. A couple in thick scarves stops first, followed by a man walking his dog. Other curious onlookers, perhaps drawn by the unexpected warmth of the music on a cold night, begin to gather. Sophia, seeing people gather around, softly starts to sing the words as she remembers. Her voice is faint at first, but Lucas follows her lead with his guitar, adjusting the rhythm to her tone. The girl gains confidence, singing louder, while those around them listen attentively. "I know that song," says a woman in the group, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "I heard it recently in the Central Plaza. A family was singing it near the Christmas tree." Lucas stops playing, his eyes fixed on the woman. "Are you sure?" he asks, his voice filled with a hope he barely dares to feel. The woman nods enthusiastically. Yes, definitely. They were right there by the tree. I think they had a little girl, but I'm not entirely sure. Lucas turns to Sophia, who looks back at him with wide, bright eyes. The weight he'd been carrying on his shoulders begins to lift. He takes the girl's hand, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. Let's go to the plaza, Sophia. I think we're really close now. The crowd watches as they walk away, some still humming the song that had briefly united them. For the first time all night, Lucas feels like he's not walking alone. When Lucas and Sophia arrive at the plaza, the light display is dazzling. A giant Christmas tree adorned with thousands of tiny lights stands at the center, drawing crowds of laughing and singing people. Lucas grips Sophia's hand firmly, shielding her from the jostling crowd. Do you see anything familiar? Lucas asks, bending toward her. Sophia looks around expectantly, but after a few seconds she shakes her head. Lucas feels a pang of frustration, but before he can say anything else, a tall man in a black coat and scarf approaches the circle around them. There you are, the man exclaims in a tone meant to sound friendly but coming off as forced. His gaze locks onto Sophia. I've been looking everywhere for you, little one. Come here. Sophia immediately steps back, hiding behind Lucas. Her fingers clutch his jacket as if her life depends on it. I don't know him, Sophia says, her voice trembling with fear. Lucas raises a hand, placing himself between the girl and the man. Wait, who are you? Lucas asks firmly. How do you know her name? I'm a friend of her family, the man replies, though his smile doesn't reach his eyes. Let me take her to her parents. Lucas doesn't trust him. There's something in the way the man looks at them that sends a chill down his spine. Sophia trembles behind him, her small hands clutching his jacket, making it clear she's terrified. If you're a friend of her family, where are they? Lucas insists, not stepping back. The man frowns, but before he can answer, a uniformed figure approaches. It's a police officer patrolling the plaza. His imposing presence slightly eases the tension. Is there a problem here? The officer asks, looking at both of them. This man says he knows the girl, but she doesn't seem to recognize him, Lucas explains quickly. The officer evaluates the situation with a professional gaze. Sophia, her eyes filled with tears, shakes her head vehemently. I don't know him, sir. He's not my friend, she exclaims, clinging even tighter to Lucas. The officer nods and turns his attention to the man. Sir, I'm going to need you to come with me to verify your identity and confirm your relationship with the girl. The man tries to protest, but the officer's firm demeanor leaves no room for argument. As the officer escorts him to a corner for questioning, Lucas feels Sophia release a trembling sigh, but the uncertainty still lingers like a shadow. Even though the man is gone, they're no closer to finding her family. Lucas kneels beside Sophia, looking into her eyes. Are you okay? He asks gently. The girl nods but says nothing. Her gaze remains lost in the bustle of the plaza. Lucas stands, letting out a deep sigh. He scans the illuminated tree and the faces in the crowd, searching for a clue, any sign to guide them. But all he feels is the weight of time slipping away. for the first time that night, doubt creeps in about whether they'll truly find Sophia's family. Lucas and Sophia remain on the edge of the plaza, surrounded by bright lights and the constant murmur of the crowd. Frustration and uncertainty weigh heavily on him, growing with each passing moment. Sophia, still clutching her stuffed toy, stares silently at the ground. The clock in the nearby bell tower chimes. Only minutes remain until midnight. Maybe they're not here, Lucas murmurs, more to himself than to Sophia. Just as those words threaten to crush him, something interrupts his thoughts. Amidst the noise of the plaza, a familiar sound emerges. A soft melody floats through the air like an echo. Lucas lifts his head, listening intently, and his heart skips a beat. It's the same song he had played for Sophia earlier. "Listen," he says, looking at the girl in amazement. Sophia lifts her gaze too, her eyes sparkling with a glimmer of hope. The melody comes from a side street, almost hidden by the crowd. Without thinking, Lucas takes Sophia's hand. "Let's go," he says, guiding her through the people. As they move closer, the music becomes clearer, louder. Finally, they arrive at a small plaza tucked away from the chaos. Beneath a canopy illuminated by warm lights, a couple plays a public piano. The woman, dressed in red, smiles as she sings the lyrics to the song Sophia had hummed earlier. The man, focused on the keys, follows her rhythm skillfully. "Mom! Dad!" Sophia shouts, letting go of Lucas's hand and running toward them. The woman stops singing immediately and turns, her expression shifting from surprise to overwhelming joy. She drops the microphone and runs to Sophia, wrapping her in a tight embrace. The man rises from the piano, hurrying to join them and enveloping both in his arms. Lucas stays at the edge of the plaza, watching the scene with a mix of relief and emotion. The weight he had carried all night vanishes in an instant. Sophia's parents, still holding their daughter close, look up at him. The woman approaches first, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Thank you. Thank you for bringing her back safely. I don't know how to thank you enough." Her voice trembles with emotion. The man steps forward as well, shaking Lucas's hand firmly. "We don't know how she got lost. One of us was always with her, but in the crowd." He pauses, shaking his head. "You're her hero tonight." Lucas smiles, scratching the back of his neck awkwardly. "She was very brave. I just followed her intuition." Sophia, still wrapped in her mother's embrace, turns and smiles at Lucas. "Thank you for not leaving me alone," she says, her small voice filled with sincerity. Lucas feels a lump in his throat. He looks at the reunited family and nods. "It was a pleasure meeting you, Sophia." His eyes meet the girls for a moment longer before he turns toward the path they had come from. "Have a happy new year." As he walks away, the sound of the piano resumes, this time accompanied by Sophia's laughter and her mother's voice singing again. Lucas heads toward the illuminated city, certain that, though his place remains uncertain, something inside him has changed forever. As Lucas walks away, he hears hurried footsteps behind him. Turning around, he sees Sophia running toward him with her stuffed toy in one hand and something shiny in the other. "Wait!" the girl calls out. Lucas stops, surprised. When Sophia reaches him, she holds out a bracelet made of colorful beads. I want you to have it, she says shyly. My mom gave it to me, but now you saved me. It's special. Lucas looks at the bracelet for a moment, the beads glinting under the streetlights. He kneels to her height and smiles. It's beautiful, but you don't have to give me anything, Sophia. I want you to have it, she insists, placing the bracelet in Lucas's hand. For good luck. Moved, Lucas nods and slides the bracelet onto his wrist. Thank you, Sophia. I'll always wear it. At that moment, Sophia's parents catch up. Her mother smiles warmly at Lucas. We don't know how to thank you for what you've done for us. If there's ever anything you need, anything at all. Lucas shakes his head as he stands. I'm fine, really. Seeing her safe was enough. Her father, persistent, takes a card from his jacket and hands it to Lucas. Please, at least take this. If you ever need help, don't hesitate to call us. Lucas accepts the card, feeling it would be rude to refuse. With a firm handshake and one last grateful smile, Sophia's parents say goodbye and return to the small plaza, where the warm lights continue to flicker softly. Lucas watches the family walk away, their laughter and murmured voices blending with the distant echo of music. Finally, he slips the card into his pocket, adjusts the strap of his guitar, and heads toward the park where his night had begun. When he arrives, the place is nearly deserted. The lights are dimmer now, and the festive sounds have given way to a peaceful silence. Lucas sits on the bench where he had rested earlier, setting the guitar beside him. He gazes at the stars, the bracelet on his wrist softly reflecting the moonlight. A mix of melancholy and satisfaction washes over him. He knows his life hasn't changed in any tangible way. He's still the street musician playing beneath weathered streetlights. But something within him feels different, as if tonight had sparked something long dormant. Lucas closes his eyes, breathing in the cold, early morning air. Perhaps he thinks tonight wasn't just for Sophia. Perhaps he too found something he'd been searching for all along. As the new year dawns, Lucas returns to the streets with his guitar slung over his shoulder. The festivities of the previous night have left the city covered in confetti and remnants of streamers that crunch under his worn boots. He finds his usual spot beneath the streetlight in the Central Park and sits on the cold ground, adjusting the strings of his guitar with mechanical movements. As he begins to play a gentle melody, he feels something different. At first, he can't pinpoint what it is. Perhaps it's the clarity of the day or the air still tinged with the euphoria of New Year's celebrations. But then he notices it. The people. A man passing by looks at him and smiles. Two teenagers stop, whispering to each other, and one of them takes out their phone to record. An older woman drops some coins into his guitar case and says, I saw you last night with the little girl. What you did was beautiful. Lucas blinks, confused. How? He begins, but the woman has already walked away, moving slowly with a shopping bag in hand. In the distance, he sees a familiar figure approaching. It's Andres, the barista, with a broad smile and a coffee in hand. Lucas, my friend? Andres calls out as he arrives. Do you know how famous you've become? Lucas stares at him, puzzled. Famous? What are you talking about? Andres pulls out his phone and shows him a video. It's of Lucas playing the guitar while Sophia hums beside him in the plaza. The video, recorded from a distant angle, captures the moment the music draws people in, ending with the woman who mentioned seeing Sophia's family. "I uploaded it last night," Andres says excitedly. "Look how many times it's been shared." Lucas watches the screen as the number of views and comments continues to climb. The messages are filled with praise. This man is amazing, a silent hero, the music that reunited a family. "I didn't do it to make you famous or anything, but..." Andres shrugs, smiling. "I guess people needed something like this after all the chaos in the world." Lucas feels a mix of embarrassment and gratitude. He lowers his gaze to his guitar and then to the coffee Andres hands him. Suddenly, his life feels less anonymous, less invisible, more meaningful. Throughout the day, more people stop by. Some leave coins, others ask him to play the song from the video. One woman even hands him a flower, murmuring, "Thank you for reminding us of what matters." Lucas smiles shyly as he plays. The guitar, which had been his personal refuge for years, now becomes a bridge to something greater. For the first time, he isn't playing just to survive. He's playing because his music, it seems, has the power to connect people. And that, he thinks as the New Year's sun warms his face, is a gift he never expected. Days later, while Lucas plays in his usual spot beneath the park streetlight, a man with messy hair and round glasses approaches, carrying a folder. He stops in front of Lucas, listening to the melody until it ends. "You're Lucas, right?" the man asks with a broad smile. Lucas nods, lowering his guitar curiously. "I'm Emilio, director of Café Cultural Horizonte. We've been talking a lot about you in the group. Your video went viral, and your story, well, it's inspiring. We'd like to invite you to perform at one of our events." Lucas blinks in surprise. He's not sure what to say. In all his years of playing on the streets, no one had ever treated him as anything more than part of the urban scenery. I don't know if I'm the kind of musician for something like that," he says finally, uncertain. Emilio smiles, as if he had expected that response. "I've watched that video many times. You're not just the kind of musician, Lucas. You're the perfect musician. The event is tomorrow night. What do you say?" Lucas looks at the card that Emilio hands him, the printed letters seeming far too elegant for someone like him. Even so, he feels a spark of excitement he can't ignore. "All right," he finally responds. "I'll give it a try." The next day, Lucas finds himself standing outside the entrance of Café Horizonte, a warm, inviting place filled with light. Nervous energy consumes him as he steps onto the small stage, a platform lit by soft, dim lights. The room is packed with people, some holding cups of coffee, others chatting quietly as they wait for the music to begin. Lucas looks at his guitar, his companion for so many years, and takes a deep breath. When he starts to play, the melody fills the space like never before. The audience falls silent, their eyes fixed on him. For the first time, they aren't just hurried passers-by or curious onlookers. These people are here to listen to him. Every note he plays carries a piece of his story. The lonely nights, the counted coins, Sophia's smile when he reunited her with her family. The music flows, and Lucas feels something he's never experienced before: belonging. When he finishes, the room erupts in applause. Some call out his name while others approach to congratulate him. Emilio shakes his hand enthusiastically. "I knew it. You're incredible. This is just the beginning, Lucas." That night, as Lucas walks toward the park with his guitar slung over his shoulder, he feels lighter, as though the weight of the years has lifted. For the first time in a long time, he feels that his music doesn't just have a place, it has a purpose. And for the first time, he allows himself to dream of something beyond mere survival. He allows himself to dream of a future. The light of a small stage shines on Lucas, who, guitar in hand, plays the opening notes of a song that has unexpectedly become an anthem for those who hear it. The room is full, and the voices of the audience join his, singing in unison. Lucas smiles, not just because of the sound, but because he feels that unmistakable connection that only music can create. A few months ago, this would have been unimaginable. A vagabond with a battered guitar, singing for people rushing past. Now, the same man stands here, surrounded by people who look at him as a true musician, someone whose music has touched their hearts. As the song reaches its climax, Lucas lifts his gaze and pauses for a moment. In the third row, he spots a familiar face, Sophia. She's sitting between her parents, waving her hands in the air and singing at the top of her lungs. Her eyes sparkle with joy, and seeing her, Lucas feels a surge of gratitude. When the song ends, the room explodes in applause and cheers. Lucas bows his head, thanking his audience, but his eyes quickly return to Sophia. She stands from her seat, clapping enthusiastically, and her parents follow, smiling and nodding in approval. After the performance, as the audience begins to disperse, Lucas steps down from the stage. Sophia runs up to him, holding a new bracelet in her hand. "I made another one for you," she says, proudly showing it to him. Lucas laughs and leans down so she can put it on him herself. "It's perfect. Thank you, little star." Sophia's parents approach as well, shaking his hand warmly. "We'll never stop being grateful for what you did for us," her mother says. "It's a joy to see you succeed." Lucas nods, deeply moved. "It was a pleasure meeting you all. You changed my life more than you know." That night, as Lucas walks home, he passes by the park where he used to play. The streetlight under which he spent so many nights still stands, its light flickering as always. He stops for a moment, looking at the spot that had been his refuge, his improvised stage, his corner of the world. But now, he knows he belongs to something bigger. The music he once played only for himself now has a purpose, a force that connects hearts and creates memories. He smiles, adjusts the guitar on his shoulder, and keeps walking. The life he had always dreamed of has finally begun.